Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something that, let's be honest, absolutely exhausts all of us at some point: the truth about becoming perfect. Listen, society has basically hardwired us from day one to believe there's this pristine, flawless version of ourselves just waiting right at the finish line of life. The pitch is always the same, right? If we just hustle harder, buy the right gadgets, and wake up at 5 in the morning every single day, we'll magically get there. But what if that finish line is a complete illusion? What if the very thing you were chasing so desperately is exactly what is holding you back from actually living your life right now?
So, who is ruining your life right now? It's a pretty provocative question, isn't it? If you really stop and think about it, when we picture our enemies or the major obstacles blocking our happiness, our brains instantly jump to external forces. A terrible boss who micromanages you, a toxic friend who totally drains your energy, or maybe just the general chaos of the economy. But the source material we're unpacking today completely flips that expectation on its head. The greatest enemy to your peace of mind isn't external at all. The answer is actually your future perfect self. Now think about this phantom for a second. This is that version of you that is perpetually waiting in the wings. You're waiting until you lose those extra 10 pounds before you buy clothes that actually fit. You're waiting until you have a little more cushion in the bank before you finally take that dream vacation. You're waiting until you feel completely unshakably confident before you launch that business or ask that person out. It's just a constant, exhausting game of waiting. And the crazy thing is, most people spend decades, sometimes their entire lives, chasing this phantom. And they never find it, because perfection wasn't designed to be caught. It was literally designed to keep you running.
Let's dive into Section 1, the perfection trap.
Let's look at why our brains actually wire this trap for us. Starting with a cycle I guarantee you have lived through. Think back to when you were a little kid. What was your biggest goal? You just wanted to be older, right? You absolutely couldn't wait to be a teenager. Then you got older and you realized, well, you just wanted freedom, so you chased independence. Then you got your freedom and reality hit hard. You realized that having freedom actually just means doing your own laundry and paying taxes, which requires money. So you chased money. And once you got some, you just wanted more of it. It's kind of the ultimate cosmic joke. Every single time you reach a destination, your brain immediately packs up and moves the goalpost. It is quite literally like running toward a moving horizon. No matter how incredibly fast you sprint, it will always stay exactly the same distance away.
Psychology actually has a formal name for this exhausting little loop: the arrival fallacy. It's that incredibly convincing illusion that true, lasting happiness will finally arrive the absolute second you achieve your next major milestone. But here's the kicker: it never does. And there's a fascinating biological reason for this. Our brains are heavily wired by a dopamine system that rewards the hunt significantly more than the catch. The anticipation of getting the promotion physically feels better to your brain than actually sitting in the new corner office. Because perfection, and that magical feeling of arriving, isn't a physical place you can just map a route to. It's just a neurological mirage.
Which brings us to Section 2, the social media mirage. Now, if our brains are already biologically primed to fall for the arrival fallacy, modern technology is basically gasoline poured directly onto our deepest insecurities. Every single time we open an app, we are instantly bombarded with the highlight reel. We're talking perfect bodies on pristine beaches, wildly aesthetic morning routines, flawless relationships, and 22-year-olds booming with impossible financial success. But what we absolutely do not see is the hidden reality simmering right beneath the surface. We don't see the crushing anxiety hiding behind that filtered smile. We don't see the profound loneliness that so often accompanies viral fame, or the dozens of humiliating failures that paved the way for that one celebrated success. The supreme danger here is that you are taking your entire messy, complex, unedited reality and comparing it to someone else's heavily curated, artificially lit highlight reel. And then you just sit there on your couch wondering why you feel so incredibly behind in life. So here is a beautifully simple truth that's honestly so hard to remember when you're caught up in the infinite scroll. Nobody is living a perfect life. Absolutely nobody. Not the celebrities dominating your feed, not the billionaires grinning on the magazine covers, not even that seemingly perfect couple in your own social circle that you secretly envy. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is fighting a desperate, invisible battle that you cannot see. That billionaire you idolize might be facing a soul-crushing lawsuit or a family falling apart. That fitness influencer with the flawless routine, they might be privately battling a severe eating disorder. The perfect, frictionless lives we constantly envy simply do not exist in reality. Let's move on to Section 3, redefining true perfection. If a totally flawless, zero-friction life is just an illusion, where does that actually leave us? Well, we have to change the metric of success entirely. The real truth is, a perfect person isn't someone who never fails. A perfect person is someone who keeps moving despite failure. Just think about the absolute strongest, most genuinely admirable people throughout history. Think about iconic authors who received 30 rejection letters before publishing a masterpiece, or inventors who blew up 100 prototypes before making a breakthrough. Were they flawless? Did they somehow magically sidestep making mistakes? Of course not. They were rejected, ignored, embarrassed, and utterly defeated, but they absolutely refused to stop moving forward. Their power and their greatness came entirely from their resilience, not from some mythical state of perfection.
You know the old saying, right? The strongest steel is created under pressure. It is a profoundly accurate metaphor for the human experience. True human resilience isn't forged by having an easy, insulated, mistake-free existence. In fact, people who have never faced adversity often completely crumble at the very first sign of trouble. The strongest people are built through hardship. They're forged by enduring the heat, making catastrophic mistakes, learning from them, and surviving the crushing pressure. That messy, difficult process is exactly what creates a character that is truly unbreakable. That leads us perfectly into Section 4, the 1% rule. So how do we actually inject this kind of resilience into our messy, day-to-day lives? We do it by using a highly actionable, beautifully accessible framework that serves as the ultimate antidote to both the arrival fallacy and the social media mirage. It's called the 1% rule. It's a tiny, almost laughable number, right? Just 1%. But the math behind this concept is absolutely staggering. If you get just 1% better at something every single day for a year, compounding interest kicks in, and you don't just become 365% better. Mathematically, you end up 37 times better by the end of the year. 37. Most people completely underestimate what they can become because they are utterly obsessed with massive, dramatic transformations. They want to be perfect overnight, so they burn out in a week. They totally miss the actual magic of consistent, microscopic daily growth. So what does that 1% actually look like in the real world? Well, it's profoundly unglamorous. It is one extra page read before you turn out the lamp. One extra rep in your workout when your muscles are practically screaming. One extra skill practiced for just 10 minutes. One extra hour invested into your side hustle instead of doom scrolling. And here's the secret. In the moment, these actions feel completely invisible. They're boring. There's no cinematic montage music playing in the background while you do them. But day after day, month after month, year after year, these tiny actions compound. True, lasting greatness is rarely built in a single dramatic moment of transformation. It's built quietly, in thousands of these invisible, seemingly insignificant moments of effort. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the freedom of progress. This is basically the culmination of everything we're unpacking today, and honestly, it is a wildly liberating realization. You will never be perfect. And frankly, that is the absolute best news you're going to hear today. Because the very moment you finally drop that impossible, crushing standard of perfection, the moment you stop waiting for your future perfect self to show up, you become free. You are suddenly completely free to learn without ego, free to fail without shame, free to grow at your own pace, and ultimately, free to actually become the best, most authentic version of yourself. To actually unlock this freedom, we have to fundamentally change the literal question we ask ourselves every single morning. Waking up and asking, how can I become perfect, is a one-way ticket straight to the arrival fallacy. It leads to absolute paralysis, because the gap between where you are right now and perfect is impossibly wide. But shifting that mental framing to simply ask, how can I become slightly better today, opens up endless opportunity. The goal was never to be flawless. The goal was always progress. It is just about being slightly better, slightly kinder, slightly more disciplined than the person you were yesterday. Because perfection has a hard, unyielding limit. Improvement absolutely does not. Because at the end of the day, perfection is an illusion. Growth is reality. The people who truly change their own lives, and eventually the world around them, aren't the perfect ones. They are simply the ones who refused to stop improving. So let go of the mirage. Stop waiting for the finish line to arrive. Embrace the messy, difficult, beautiful reality of your own ongoing progress. I'll leave you at this one question to answer for yourself today. What is your 1% step going to be? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.